In 1930, Gandhi organized a 3-week march across India of 358 kilometers to reach the Sea of Oman, simply to gather a handful of salt. Symbolically, he was breaking the monopoly on the salt trade, which had been held by Britain for centuries. Gandhi and his followers were arrested, but the person who Churchill malevolently called the half-naked Kafir had won. Images of Gandhi were seen all over the world.
Gandhi had a great sense of symbolism and of how to communicate with the masses. This sounds contradictory and somewhat paradoxical. He was a man, after all, who wished first and foremost to be an aesthete, who renounced worldly things. But he was a great politician and a great communicator.
Gandhi's weapons were civil disobedience and non-violence. The British responded by using their truncheons. The repression was constant and often brutal, often ending in bloodshed. The prisons were full. Gandhi was jailed 7 times for a total of 4 years. His political colleague, Pandit Nehru, was jailed 8 times, serving 9 years. From beginning to end, the struggle for independence was organized by the Congress Party. Gandhi was its soul, and Nehru its chief organizer. These 2 men shared a blind confidence in their success, despite their personal differences. Gandhi from the lower middle class, the ascetic clothed only in a dhoti. Nehru, the upper-class Brahmin, well-dressed and elegant, but with ideas rooted in socialism.
Somebody like Nehru, who embraced socialism in the 1920s, Gandhi was prepared to tolerate that because he believed that Nehru would always basically be loyal to him. So that he gave Nehru a sort of certain amount of rope, you could say, to go his own way. But Gandhi would always be holding it and able to draw him in whenever he felt, he was going to too great an extreme. And Nehru, well, he knew, that it was in his interest to keep in with Gandhi, but he also had a genuine affection for Gandhi. Nehru's own father had died in 1931, and in many respects you can see Gandhi as sort of as taking over that position of the father figure for Nehru, and so that they do have a very close relationship despite their differences.
And they were very different, not least in their view of religion. Nehru was openly atheistic, which was rare in India. Gandhi was steeped in religious principles. Each of his meetings opened with prayers. Hinduism, the majority faith, was omnipresent. Hindu precepts governed every aspect of life. It was the basis of the caste system. But Hinduism had always been a tolerant religion, never imposing on the views of others. The second largest religion in India was Islam. Enormous mosques had been built in the north by the Mughal princes who wanted Hindus to convert to Islam. Muslims represented a quarter of the population of the Indian Empire. Later, after the creation of Pakistan, this fell to nearly half, to 12%. Today, India, with 120 million Muslims, is the 4th largest Islamic country in the world. Muslims and Hindus had lived in intelligent coexistence, But suddenly, religion became a card in the political game for independence. It was in the 1930s that the Muslim League became a political force, with the short-term aim of defending the interests of Indian Muslims. Its long-term hope, once the English had been kicked out, was the creation of a Muslim country, Pakistan, the land of the pure. At the head of the movement was Mohamed Ali Jinnah, who'd known Gandhi for many years.
Both Gandhi and Jinnah came from Gujarat. They were Gujarati-speaking people. They were both lawyers who'd been educated in London, had received their legal training there. So in a way, they had a lot in common. But unfortunately, they came into very sharp conflict quite early on after Gandhi returned to India.
In 1945, Gandhi decided they must surmount their differences and went to meet Jinnah at his home in Bombay. They met for many days in a row, and Gandhi never gave up trying to dissuade Jinnah from his obsession for a Muslim Pakistan. He assured him that Muslims would have their proper place in an India which would be laic and democratic. He went as far as to offer him the job of the first Indian Prime Minister once Britain was ousted.
Jinnah ne supporte pas.
Jinnah would not accept the affection,
ou en tout cas,
or in any case, the pleas of Gandhi,
de Gandhi, parce qu'il y voit,
because like many Muslims, he suspected a Hindu attempt to outmaneuver the Muslims.
Englober les musulmans.
Gandhi claimed to represent universalism. He did not want to be thought of as a Hindu, but as an Indian.
Mais il l'est tellement de manière
But everything about his style was totally Hindu. His renunciation of politics, the aesthete of politics, that was actually Hindu to the core.
Par excellence.
Simla, the mountain station to which the English would flee to escape the heat which preceded the monsoons. It was there in 1946 that the leaders of the Muslim League and the Congress Party came together to discuss the crucial issue of post-colonial India. How could they possibly live side by side as Gandhi had dreamed? Nehru's natural sense of diplomacy broke down in the face of Jinnah's intransigence. After 3 weeks, the Simla conference was abandoned, without result.
Jinnah launched his campaign in 1946 on a single theme. The Congress was a Hindu party with a Hindu as a leader. If, after independence, they won the elections, it was certain that Muslims would be absorbed and dominated. To survive as a community, they needed their own separate state, Pakistan.
So in 1946, he decides to take the matter to the streets. Jinnah had been a strictly constitutional politician before then. He'd been loyal to the British. He hadn't ever been involved in civil disobedience campaigns. He'd never adopted the sort of tactics that Gandhi had adopted. But in 1946, in August 1946, he decides to take the issue to the street. He's going to show the power of Muslims in India, and he has the Direct Action Day.